Hello, beautiful friends. Thank you for being here once again. We keep expanding. That's really our purpose here. Yesterday, we had a powerful gathering in the morning and evening for the solar eclipse. And the evening call was quite different, as the energy of the eclipse was also quite different as it completed its path. And just so that you know, because I know some of you are in Europe, so you don't know what the evening call was about, I recorded it and will post it when I get home soon. And so what really came to us after the eclipse was that if you feel playful, please try building any type of spiral with 144 either rocks, flowers, pine cones, either, it can be small, it can be big. And so here is what we did with my husband yesterday, and we built the 144 spiral. I do believe that this was really important, as we are now truly having access to the fullness of this solar system, to our grandson. The other thing that we were asked yesterday before the call actually was to start calling in the beings from the grandson. And then Patricia actually posted a video this morning, if you've seen, and also last night after our call. And it was all about working with these beings from the grandson and also calling in the 12 aspects, the 12 rays of divinity. And so, of course, we will keep on working with these beautiful energies that are supporting us in expansion. This spiral, truly represents actually the design of our solar system beyond just our physical solar system. And so you know that we are in a world that is based upon the principle of 12, with 12 suns and 12 planets. And so 12 times 12 is 144. And that's why we so often hear the number 144 and 144,000. So the opening song, I've been really focusing on bringing in the consciousness of the solar logos. And so I'm looking for all the songs about the sun. And this actually happens to be Pink and her child singing Cover Me with Sunshine. But I thought it was really cute having a mother and a child singing. I don't know if it's a daughter or a son. And so truly what is expanding here, and of course everybody will be feeling the same on this planet, is our solar consciousness. And so every day spending some time with the sun. Again, we will be speaking a lot about Yogananda as the great avatar of the solar consciousness, what it really is. And that solar consciousness is truly source consciousness. And so at least 20 to 30 minutes, based on Yogananda's advice, sitting in sunshine, meditating, especially morning or evening at sunset, those two times. The mornings are always very, very powerful. And absorbing these new codes. We were beings that were made by nature, our cosmic mother nature. You can also paint and draw the spirals, whatever, comes to you. We are truly spiraling our own consciousness. So I've heard some psychics that speak about this now, and they call it the personal life spiral. I've seen even drawings someone made where the tree of life, it's actually depicted as a spiral within us as well. And so this spiraling of our consciousness, I recommend to do this meditation once a day, where you simply meditate in the sun, connected to the earth, so that you feel well. The physical body, as you know, and especially yesterday, which, how the X of the two paths of totality was in a place in Illinois called Carbondale. And so to me, the X is the mark of the end of the carbon-based body and truly the beginning of the new crystalline-based body. And so the body was originally designed to be, and it still is very intelligent, but the body went through the fall itself, the fallen senses, the fallen nervous system, the fallen brain centers. And really even our organs, they fell from the light body state to the density. And so now our body has this new system, which actually was the original system, and that is the 12-dimensional system. In a way, I call it 12 dimensions within us, and that it means that there are really 12 kind of like floors, 12 levels through which you can perceive reality, but we want to perceive reality all at once through all 12 at once, and that's the practice we will do today as well. So all of this is available to all of us. And again, you never know when it fully activates within you. Just keep doing what you're doing. And I always just share my own stories, how this can be just completely an unexpected day of your life. You do nothing really, crazy, nothing super special. You just, for me, this happened spontaneously, this awakening of the 12 levels where I was able to perceive my being through all the 12 levels, just because I had some kind of body work done. It was kind of a combination of Reiki and massage and putting stones on the chakras. And suddenly the system aligned. And when the system aligns, you actually have truly a clear vision of who you are and how far we go, what the being really is. And so we'll just do what we do. Today, we will be actually working with Yogananda's Science of Miracles, which is something we spoke about in many different ways before. And actually, we were guided by teachings of Thoth that I mentioned also yesterday. Thoth, as we have all these different names, but it doesn't really mean that the being was that. But there was a being on this planet who came from a different star system, who came as a guardian of humanity, as a teacher of humanity. In ancient Egypt, they called him Thoth. He was also known as Hermes Trismegistos. And so it was Thoth Hermes Trismegistos. And he was teaching the teachings of the mysteries of the human body, human abilities that can be accessed through the body, and the potential of our mind to actually create reality and create miracles. So if you were working with us in the past, then there is one teaching that I received directly from Hermes Trismegistos when he came, and he introduced himself as Hermes Trismegistos. And this was after meditating for many, many, many months, intensely. And suddenly these beings, they come from these higher realms, they have access to you. Then the veil is so thin. And he taught me how to create reality from the quantum field. Now, when we did that together, I used the technique that he taught me, which is the technique of the cauldron. Now, it sounds like a fairy tale. It sounds a little bit magical. It sounds like something you would read to children, but actually it's an ancient technique that Taoist masters still use. In Taoism, the cauldron is still used as a magical tool, and it's simply forgotten. And so I want to bring it back as how to create reality. All reality has to be created from the quantum field. Maybe the word quantum didn't exist then, but they had different ways of describing it. Today we will listen to Yogananda's Science of Miracles. And in the Science of Miracles, he says that if a master being remembers and knows how to create reality and wants to create miracles, they have to go in a way to the quantum field to rearrange atoms. To rearrange atoms. So in a way, to me, it's just saying we go to the quantum field, and just like we did in the past, we ask the available quantum particles to become our creation that we are designing impeccably with our higher mind. Always remembering that we have several different types of mind. Not all mind is the same. As human beings, we are very, very used to the dysfunctional mind, and we call it normal. The mind that keeps just coming up with thoughts. That's not the mind we want to be engaging when it comes to creation. We want to engage our higher mind. Our higher mind can be accessed mainly through meditation and contact with our divine self, especially if we work in this 12 chakra system, going all the way to the top, which is our God self, and then bringing the 12 rays into all chakras all at once, allowing us to be whole again. Then from this wholeness, we can ask for inspiration. When we worked with Orin, for example, when we did the working with the divine will, the divine self will send seeds of inspiration. Now, inspiration is something that is not logic. Logic might be, looking at the pros and cons of a situation and trying to come up with some kind of solution. That is actually the lower human mind. The lower human mind is very much the mind that looks at the right and the left and tries to come up with a solution. But what we actually need to do is connect with the divine self, which happens through our spine. We cannot forget, especially now, our spine. Our spine is truly our central column of light through which our divine self sends the 12 rays of creation into the human being down here so that we are empowered. So when we are inspired, inspiration is actually more like excitement. It is a single-minded knowing that also has the power to move us forward. So that's pretty different from thinking about how we should do something. So it's not the logical mind, it's actually our divine mind. Inspiration is something that feels like love, but it also feels like motion. Originally, when we were designed as human beings, the physical body was supposed to be a perfect receiver of our divine self. And it's not that we receive the divine self fully, meaning that the divine self would completely descend down into the body. It is actually that the divine self always remains one with source. And then the divine self has the function to stay unchanged, always completely detached from anything that the human actually is experiencing, in a way that it doesn't change the divine self. The divine self is unchangeable, untouchable. But the divine self has the 12 rays, and it sends the 12 rays down through the pillar of light into the human being. If the human being is clean and clear, the human being could receive all 12 rays all at once and be complete, and that act out of wholeness, acting out of wholeness, not acting out of lack, not acting out of dysfunction, not acting out of unconsciousness. So that's actually what we are doing here. So the body was designed to receive the fullness of these 12 rays, receive the fullness of what the divine self is sending, and then to be moved by it. So moved by it. That means that, yes, we first have to learn how to be still, but that's only because we've been in dysfunction. The original human being was able to constantly be in touch with the divine self through all the different layers in between. And again, this is what we are restoring. In a way, a lot of people these days start speaking again about the tree of life. And I made a lot of videos in 2020 about the big tree. Some people call it, the tree of life, that is universal, planetary, cosmic. The native tradition spoke about this great tree as well, the holy tree. And so this tree is not only within us, but the tree is also within creation. And we are part of the great one. We are part of the great cosmic tree. This tree of life depicts perfectly also these 12 layers that are within us. So whatever tradition we look at, we will find the same basically design of the human being. Last year, we worked with the level of the tree of life that became available to us, which you see here as the second top level, called Ein Sof. And when I was able to actually merge with Ein Sof, I realized that it's not just someone naming these spheres of consciousness, but actually they make sound. And so sound is pretty much what we know it to be, sound of creation. So all is sound. And when we start resonating in our own consciousness, then we start resonating, for example, with Ein Sof, and then we hear the messages coming to us from really the second top level before we are one with the absolute. And so I actually was going to the same message yesterday, and that message from Ein Sof was, remember the underlying oneness of all life in all that we do, in all that we think, in all that we are. And so again, that's something that, is unfolding here for all of us, remembering the underlying oneness of all life. So even if we don't feel one with all, there is this underlying oneness that connects us all. And so today, again, we will be doing the breathing of the 12 aspects of divinity, the really 12 spheres of consciousness. And as you know, this, for example, it was so beautiful. I was in the mountains in Colorado with very few human beings. And when you are high up in the mountains, I think it was like 10,000 feet elevation, Then, of course, you also receive clear guidance, especially if there is, no technology and no human energy so much. And so I was asked to create the circle of this majestic 12. And so this is the circle of the majestic 12, the 12 rays of creation. And we will be inhaling each one of them today, starting with the blue sapphire and then moving towards the yellow, the pink, the white, the green. And I know that Patricia did that too, of course. And so we will actually use the beautiful visualization that Patricia gave us. And so looking at the different meditation techniques, in the past, right, we all knew about the 7 vortices within us, the chakra system. And that's pretty much what we had available to us. And it would take a lot of effort. For example, Kriya Yoga would allow us to actually go beyond the 7 chakra system and allow us to move beyond the physical into the non-physical and then even into the more subtle. So in the past, the system was pretty limited. But again, we are so blessed to be alive on this planet right now. And I don't want to even say alive because we are always alive. We are alive even at the moment of what we call death. And then we are even more alive once we are really gone from here. That's when we are really alive. And so we do exist in this world right now. And so how wonderful that we get to exist here right now when we have this bigger system available to us. The other thing that we will speak about today as we listen to Yogananda, which you might notice, I often speak about out-of-body travel and how I am practicing it, and I always teach it exactly how I practice it. And in this beautiful transmission from Yogananda about the science of miracles, he also mentions something that really struck me, and I'll speak about that. So I used to travel out of body as a little kid, but it was nothing like a technique, I didn't have to do anything. It just simply happened every time I was falling asleep. My bedroom would fill up with these beings who had rainbow light. And I think Reverend Bill, that many of you met as well, who came to Santa Rosa to teach the self-healing technique that he received from Babaji. He had a very similar experience in this lifetime, and that was working with these rainbow beings and also being part of them himself as well. And so there is definitely what I would call the rainbow tribe in Cosmos. And it seemed like they just go around Cosmos and they try to bring some divine knowledge to different worlds. At least that's what Reverend Bill was describing in his experience. And so when I was little, all these rainbow beings would always come to the bedroom and suddenly, bam, I was out of body and we would be going to a different world. So it was not really controlled or, mastered out of body travel. But it was around the year 2018, 19. I don't know exactly when it started to happen. I've always been practicing Kriya Yoga that you see here. Kriya Yoga is a method that Yogananda taught us. And it's simply, it starts with something as simple as breathing through the spine in a very specific way. And so it was around these energies when our divine self started to download into us, 2018, 19. It was the first very strong downloads of the divine self and remembering who we are. I thought, I'm going to just practice Kriya Yoga while laying down. That's not exactly how we are taught to do it. But it was middle of the night. And I thought, while I'm awake in the middle of the night, since the energy is so high, I'm just going to breathe through the spine. I'm going to focus on the third eye. I'm going to chant Om in my head, and I'll just do that. And next thing you know, one night, which I will never forget, I felt that one of my arms was completely rising out of control. It was just rising. And I thought, why am I lifting my arm? And so it was my left arm. And then I took my right hand and I thought, I'm just going to pull my arm down. And in that moment, I realized that actually I suddenly had 3 arms. And I thought, oh my gosh, now what? I realized that one of my arms really peeled out. And so when it peeled out, I thought, well, what can you do next? So I relaxed. And as I was relaxing, I kept practicing Kriya Yoga, breathing and chanting Om into my third eye. And next thing you know, my entire body disconnected from the physical body. And that was the beginning. So in this transmission from Yogananda, he describes that if the meditator, which is us, spends enough time focusing on the third eye, that they might be able to break through into these other dimensions. And I think basically that's what happened to me, focusing on the third eye long enough. So I do recommend when you meditate to always be focusing on the third eye, always focusing on the third eye. So whether you are sitting in deep meditation, keep focusing with your physical eyes on the third eye. I personally use my physical eyes to lift. So I'm not looking straight, I'm not looking down with the physical eyes. And even though my eyelids are closed, I'm always looking into the middle point, the Christ center, the center of Christ consciousness, into the third eye. And when you do that and you keep breathing slowly, just slowly breathing and even moving the breath through the spine, just cleaning up the chimney through which the divine self can come, then miracles surely unfold. And so we will start by breathing the 12 aspects of divinity. I'm going to show them here. So here you also see the tetrahedron. You see how the light body is created, that you see the two triangles. These are actually tetrahedron body, where one triangle is pointing down. This is a 3-based pyramid, and one 3-based pyramid pointing up. Another way that people describe this is as the diamond body. So it's not necessarily diamond as the color, but it's actually the shape of a diamond. So for example, here you can see it next to the person on the left, next to air. You see one pyramid going up, one pyramid going down. So if you worked with Orin with the interdimensional travel, you know exactly what it is. And that is the newest form of our vehicle of light. In the past, people always used Merkaba, and it was the two pyramids spinning, and they would be creating the Star of David. But actually, since we're going through this ascension process, the most advanced vehicle of light we have right now, which it's almost like technology, but it's spiritual technology. It's very magnetic, and it actually responds to our consciousness and allows us to enter other dimensions. So the mystery is big, and let us go to do this work with Patricia. It's a very beautiful invocation. I'll just play her voice so that everybody can just focus within, closing your eyes. And if you need to look at the colors, then we will look at the colors. And here we go with the spine completely straight.
Please join with me and light workers around the world for this activity of light. And we begin. I am my I am presence, and I am one with the I am presence of every son and daughter of God on earth. As one holy breath, we join our Father, Mother, God, and the beings of light from our grand central sun for this holy endeavor. Now, one by one, I visualize each aspect as it descends on my holy breath down my fifth dimensional solar spine. As this occurs, each aspect of deity gently recalibrates all 12 of my fifth dimensional solar chakras. I am now breathing in the first solar aspect of deity, which is sapphire blue. This sacred fire descends down my fifth dimensional solar spine and recalibrates all 12 of my fifth dimensional solar chakras with sapphire blue light. I am now breathing in the second solar aspect of deity, which is yellow gold. This sacred fire descends down my fifth dimensional solar spine and recalibrates all 12 of my fifth dimensional solar chakras with yellow gold light. I am now breathing in the third solar aspect of deity, which is crystalline pink. This sacred fire descends down my fifth dimensional solar spine and recalibrates all 12 of my fifth dimensional solar chakras with crystalline pink light. I am now breathing in the fourth solar aspect of deity, which is white. This sacred fire descends down my fifth dimensional solar spine and recalibrates all 12 of my fifth dimensional solar chakras with white light. I am now breathing in the fifth solar aspect of deity, which is emerald green. This sacred fire descends down my fifth dimensional solar spine and recalibrates all 12 of my fifth dimensional solar chakras with emerald green light. I am now breathing in the sixth solar aspect of deity, which is ruby gold. This sacred fire descends down my fifth dimensional solar spine and recalibrates all 12 of my fifth dimensional solar chakras with ruby gold light. I am now breathing in the seventh solar aspect of deity, which is violet. This sacred fire descends down my fifth dimensional solar spine and recalibrates all 12 of my fifth dimensional solar chakras with violet light. I am now breathing in the eighth solar aspect of deity, which is aquamarine. This sacred fire descends down my fifth dimensional solar spine and recalibrates all 12 of my fifth dimensional solar chakras with aquamarine light. I am now breathing in the ninth solar aspect of deity, which is magenta. This sacred fire descends down my fifth dimensional solar spine and recalibrates all 12 of my fifth dimensional solar chakras with magenta light. I am now breathing in the 10th solar aspect of deity, which is gold. This sacred fire descends down my fifth dimensional solar spine and recalibrates all 12 of my fifth dimensional solar chakras with gold light. I am now breathing in the 11th solar aspect of deity, which is peach. This sacred fire descends down my fifth dimensional solar spine and recalibrates all 12 of my fifth dimensional solar chakras with peach light. I am now breathing in the 12th solar aspect of deity, which is opal. This sacred fire descends down my fifth dimensional solar spine and recalibrates all 12 of my fifth dimensional solar chakras with opal light. This new, higher frequency of the fifth dimensional crystalline solar aspects of deity than I have ever assimilated at a cellular level is now secured in my earthly bodies through my fifth dimensional solar spine and my 12 fifth dimensional solar chakras. Beloved Father, Mother, God, and the company of heaven, beloved beings of light from our grand central sun, and beloved I Am Presence, thank you for the assistance you are giving to humanity, the elemental kingdom, and Mother Earth during this momentous time. And so it is, beloved, I am that I am.
And so it is. Once again, remember that the most powerful thing to repeat these days is I am that I am. It's really magical. And anytime the old self, you know, the human self that we knew in the past, the distorted one, many people call it the false self, the ego self, the lower human self, if that self comes in with distorted thoughts, don't worry about it at all. Simply call in the power of your I am. And one wonderful way to do that is to repeat 3 times, I am that I am. I am that I am. I am that I am. It is much better than any other thoughts. And so just by doing that, you are rewiring yourself, replacing the old self with the new self. And of course, it's going to get easier and easier. So here is a wonderful visualization. We spoke about the different types of mind that the human being has. And again, we want to move away from the mind that disconnected us actually from the truth of our Christ consciousness. It is the mind that constantly thinks. And so we want to move into the higher mind, and the higher mind uses imagination and visualization to imagine and visualize, for example, new realities. And so every day we are now asked, you know, to really practice visualizing, imagining, for example, visualizing these beautiful 12 aspects of divinity, really focusing. And if you don't have this image, take a picture of it. And just every day focusing on the colors, showering yourself with this beautiful multidimensional rainbow, really getting the colors be alive in your visualization and imagination. Now, the technique that we used, where we go into the quantum field and we ask the available quantum particles to become our creation, that is exactly what Yogananda speaks about in this Science of Miracles that we will listen to. So pick something that really doesn't matter to you so much. And the reason for that is that if something matters to us so much, it's probably an attachment in this illusionary world. And so we cannot put so much meaning to anything except for our connection with the divine. And so let's say it's going to be something really neutral. I was thinking about something very neutral where I can rearrange the quantum field, you know? And I thought, you know what, it would be nice to have a new kitchen. Something like this, you know, it's a silly example maybe, but something very simple where you can rearrange the quantum field and it can be a tangible outcome. And then you will see it's just practice. We are just practicing. So again, nothing crazy, nothing too big, nothing, you know, too abstract. The parking thing, that's great, but try something really that will require quantum particles to come together and where you have a vision. So you are the designer, so you will give design to something. So for me, I'm going to use this example, right? You know, outdated kitchen, and I know this is material, but this is really actually just practicing. So, you know, you create the design. How do you want your, you know, kitchen, your car, whatever to be? And again, this is material, but that's okay. Hopefully you don't mind. How do you want it to be? Create the design in your higher mind, and then go into the quantum field and work with the practice that we had, rearranging particles, quantum particles in the quantum field to become your creation. And so see all of it done. You have to see it. You have to not just, think it, but see it. We still always work on world peace, but world peace is like a very big, complex topic, right? That is so abstract in a way that if we are working on world peace, I just want to practice on something, whatever that actually is physical, you can bring into your reality, right? So that you see tangible result, so that you see how the quantum particles can become things. You have to walk, for example, again, the kitchen, I think it's a good example, the beautiful garden, wonderful example, Patricia. So you see the beautiful garden, you create a new garden, you go and see the trees, you see the beautiful pathways, you see the boulders, the rocks, the flowers, the butterflies. That's a very good example, actually. And so as you walk through it, you smell the flowers and you're asking the quantum particles actually consciously to become it. Wonderful. And so we will go and listen now to Yogananda and the science of miracles. I also wanted to share my recent out-of-body experience that was quite remarkable, but I don't know if we have enough time for that, but definitely we have time for Yogananda. And so this is going to be a 30-minute transmission from Yogananda's book, The Scientific Affirmations. This is a really, really wonderful, everything by Yogananda. I recommend still studying every single word, going deep with this new lens that we have, the lens of the divine self. And so how to heal our life, how to heal our minds, how to bring peace and harmony into every aspect of our life. The final chapter in this book is the science of miracles. It is 30 minutes. So the way that I recommend not just listening and, drifting away, but really focusing and even taking notes, really bringing down, the pen and the paper and your journal, maybe if you can, and just really what is important to you? What is he really saying to us? How to create miracles in this life. And so it's an Audible, you can have it as an audio book. So I'm going to play it from Audible. And here it is. I'm going to be taking notes with you.
The Law of Miracles. The great novelist Leo Tolstoy wrote a delightful story, The Three Hermits. His friend Nicholas Roerich has summarized the tale as follows. On an island there lived three old hermits. They were so simple that the only prayer they used was, "We are three. Thou art three. Have mercy on us." Great miracles were manifested during this naive prayer. The local bishop came to hear about the three hermits and their inadmissible prayer, and decided to visit them in order to teach them the canonical invocations. He arrived on the island, told the hermits that their heavenly petition was undignified, and taught them many of the customary prayers. The bishop then left on a boat. He saw, following the ship, a radiant light. As it approached, he discerned the three hermits, who were holding hands and running upon the waves in an effort to overtake the vessel. "We have forgotten the prayers you taught us," they cried as they reached the bishop, "and have hastened to ask you to repeat them." The awed bishop shook his head. "Dear ones," he replied humbly, "continue to live with your old prayer." How did the three saints walk on water? How did Christ resurrect his crucified body? How did Lahiri Mahasaya and Sri Yukteswar perform their miracles? Modern science has as yet no answer, though with the advent of the atomic bomb and the wonders of radar, the scope of the world mind has been abruptly enlarged. The word impossible is becoming less prominent in the scientific vocabulary. The ancient Vedic scriptures declare that the physical world operates under one fundamental law of Maya, the principle of relativity and duality. God, the soul life, is an absolute unity. He cannot appear as the separate and diverse manifestations of a creation except under a false or unreal veil. That cosmic illusion is Maya. Every great scientific discovery of modern times has served as a confirmation of this simple pronouncement of the rishis. Newton's law of motion is a law of Maya. To every action there is always an equal and contrary reaction. The mutual actions of any two bodies are always equal and oppositely directed. Action and reaction are thus exactly equal. To have a single force is impossible. There must be and always is a pair of forces equal and opposite. Fundamental natural activities all betray their Maic origin. Electricity, for example, is a phenomenon of repulsion and attraction. Its electrons and protons are electrical opposites. Another example, the atom or final particle of matter is, like the Earth itself, a magnet with positive and negative poles. The entire phenomenal world is under the inexorable sway of polarity. No law of physics, chemistry, or any other science is ever found free from inherent opposite or contrasted principles. Physical science then cannot formulate laws outside of Maya, the very texture and structure of creation. Nature herself is Maya. Natural science must perforce deal with her ineluctable quiddity. In her own domain she is eternal and inexhaustible. Future scientists can do no more than probe one aspect after another of her varied infinitude. Science thus remains in a perpetual flux, unable to reach finality, fit indeed to formulate the laws of an already existing and functioning cosmos, but powerless to detect the law framer and sole operator. The majestic manifestations of gravitation and electricity have become known, but what gravitation and electricity are, no mortal knoweth. To surmount Maya was the task assigned to the human race by the millennial prophets. To rise above the duality of creation and perceive the unity of the Creator was conceived of as man's highest goal. Those who cling to the cosmic illusion must accept its essential law of polarity, flow and ebb, rise and fall, day and night, pleasure and pain, good and evil, birth and death. This cyclic pattern assumes a certain anguishing monotony. After man has gone through a few thousand human births, he begins to cast a hopeful eye beyond the compulsions of Maya. To tear the veil of Maya is to pierce the secret of creation. The yogi who thus denudes the universe is the only true monotheist. All others are worshipping heathen images. So long as man remains subject to the dualistic delusions of nature, the Janus-faced Maya is his goddess. He cannot know the one true God. The word illusion, Maya, is individually called avidya, literally not knowledge, ignorance, delusion. Maya or avidya can never be destroyed through intellectual conviction or analysis, but solely through attaining the interior state of nirvikalpa samadhi. The Old Testament prophets and seers of all lands and ages spoke from that state of consciousness. Ezekiel says, 43, 1-2, "Afterwards he brought me to the gate, even the gate that looketh toward the east. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel came from the way of the east. And his voice was like a noise of many waters, and earth shined with his glory. Through the divine eye in the forehead, east, the yogi sails his consciousness into omnipresence, hearing the word or aum, divine sound of many waters or vibrations, which is the sole reality of creation. among the trillion mysteries of the cosmos, the most phenomenal is light. Unlike sound waves, whose transmission requires air or other material media, light waves pass freely through the vacuum of interstellar space. Even the hypothetical ether held as the interplanetary medium of light in the undulatory theory can be discarded on the Einsteinian grounds that the geometrical properties of space render the theory of ether unnecessary. Under either hypothesis, light remains the most subtle, the freest from material dependence of any natural manifestation. In the gigantic conceptions of Einstein, the velocity of light, 186,000 miles per second, dominates the whole theory of relativity. He proves mathematically that the velocity of light is, so far as man's finite mind is concerned, the only constant in a universe of unstable flux. On the sole absolute of light velocity depend all human standards of time and space. Not abstractly eternal as hitherto considered, time and space are relative and finite factors, deriving their measurement validity only in reference to the yardstick of light velocity. In joining space as a dimensional relativity, time has surrendered age-old claims to a changeless value. Time is now stripped to its rightful nature, a simple essence of ambiguity. With a few equational strokes of his pen, Einstein has banished from the cosmos every fixed reality except that of light. In a later development, his unified field theory, the great physicist embodies in one mathematical formula the laws of gravitation and of electromagnetism, reducing the cosmical structure to variations on a single law. Einstein reaches across the ages to the rishis, who proclaimed a sole texture of creation, that of a protean Maya. On the epochal theory of relativity have arisen the mathematical possibilities of exploring the ultimate atom. Great scientists are now boldly asserting not only that the atom is energy rather than matter, but that atomic energy is essentially mind stuff. The frank realization that physical science is concerned with a world of shadows is one of the most significant advances. Sir Arthur Stanley Eddington writes in The Nature of the Physical World, "In the world of physics, we watch a shadowgraph performance of the drama of familiar life. The shadow of my elbow rests on the shadow table as the shadow ink flows over the shadow paper. It is all symbolic, and as a symbol the physicist leaves it. Then comes the alchemist mind who transmutes the symbols. To put the conclusion crudely, the stuff of the world is mind stuff. The realistic matter and fields of force of former physical theory are altogether irrelevant except in so far as the mind stuff has itself spun these imaginings. The external world has thus become a world of shadows. In removing our illusions, we have removed the substance. For indeed, we have seen that substance is one of the greatest of our illusions. With the recent discovery of the electron microscope came definite proof of the light essence of atoms and of the inescapable duality of nature. The New York Times gave the following report of a 1937 demonstration of the electron microscope before a meeting of the American Association for the Advancement of Science. The crystalline structure of tungsten, hitherto known only indirectly by means of X-rays, stood outlined boldly on a fluorescent screen, showing 9 atoms in their correct positions in the space lattice, a cube, with 1 atom in each corner and 1 in the center. The atoms in the crystal lattice of the tungsten appeared on the fluorescent screen as points of light, arranged in geometric pattern. Against this crystal cube of light, the bombarding molecules of air could be observed as dancing points of light, similar to points of sunlight shimmering on moving waters. The principle of the electron microscope was first discovered in 1927 by Drs. Clinton J. Davison and Lester H. Gummer of the Bell Telephone Laboratories, New York City, who found that the electron had a dual personality, partaking of the characteristic of both a particle and a wave. The wave quality gave the electron the characteristic of light, and a search was begun to devise means for focusing electrons in a manner similar to focusing of light by means of a lens. For his discovery of the Jekyll-Hyde quality of the electron, which corroborated the prediction made in 1924 by Dubray, French Nobel Prize-winning physicist, and showed that the entire realm of physical nature had a dual personality, Dr. Davison also received the Nobel Prize in Physics. The stream of knowledge, Sir James Jeans writes in The Mysterious Universe, is heading towards a non-mechanical reality. The universe begins to look more like a great thought than like a great machine. 20th century science is thus sounding like a page from the Hoary Vedas. From science, then, if it must be so, let man learn the philosophic truth that there is no material universe. Its warp and woof is Maya, illusion. Its mirages of reality all break down under analysis. As one by one the reassuring props of a physical cosmos crash beneath him, man dimly perceives his idolatrous reliance, his past transgression of the divine command, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." In his famous equation outlining the equivalence of mass and energy, Einstein proved that the energy in any particle of matter is equal to its mass or weight, multiplied by the square of the velocity of light. The release of the atomic energies is brought about through the annihilation of the material particles. The death of matter has been the birth of an atomic age. Light velocity is a mathematical standard or constant, not because there is an absolute value in 186,000 miles a second, but because no material body whose mass increases with its velocity can ever attain the velocity of light. Stated another way, only a material body whose mass is infinite could equal the velocity of light. This conception brings us to the law of miracles. The masters who are able to materialize and dematerialize their bodies or any other object, and to move with the velocity of light and to utilize the creative light rays in bringing into instant visibility any physical manifestation, have fulfilled the necessary Einsteinian condition. Their mass is infinite. The consciousness of a perfected yogi is effortlessly identified, not with the narrow body, but with the universal structure. Gravitation, whether the force of Newton or the Einsteinian manifestation of inertia, is powerless to compel a master to exhibit the property of weight, which is the distinguishing gravitational condition of all material objects. He who knows himself as the omnipresent spirit is subject no longer to the rigidities of a body in time and space. Their imprisoning rings past not have yielded to the solvent, "I am He." Fiat lux, and there was light. God's first command to His ordered creation, Genesis 1:3, brought into being the only atomic reality, light. On the beams of this immaterial medium occur all divine manifestations. Devotees of every age testify to the appearance of God as flame and light. The King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, who only hath immortality, dwelling in the light which no man can approach unto. A yogi who through perfect meditation has merged his consciousness with the Creator perceives the cosmical essence as light. To him, there is no difference between the light rays composing water and the light rays composing land. Free from the matter consciousness, free from the 3 dimensions of space and the 4th dimension of time, a master transfers his body of light with equal ease over the light ways of earth, water, fire, or air. Long concentration on the liberating spiritual eye has enabled the yogi to destroy all delusions concerning matter and its gravitational weight. Thenceforth, he sees the universe as an essentially undifferentiated mass of light. Optical images, Dr. L.T. Troland of Harvard tells us, are built up on the same principle as the ordinary half-tone engravings. That is, they are made up of minute dottings or striplings, far too small to be detected by the eye. The sensitiveness of the retina is so great that a visual sensation can be produced by relatively few quanta of the right kind of light. Through a master's divine knowledge of light phenomena, he can instantly project into perceptible manifestation the ubiquitous light atoms. The actual form of the projection, whether it be a tree, a medicine, a human body, is in conformance with the yogi's powers of will and visualization. In man's dream consciousness, where he has loosened in sleep his clutch on the egotistic limitations that daily hem him round, the omnipotence of his mind has a nightly demonstration. Lo, there, in the dream, stand the long-dead friends, the remotest continents, the resurrected scenes of his childhood. With that free and unconditioned consciousness, known to all men in the phenomena of dreams, the God-tuned master has forged a never-severed link. Innocent of all personal motives and employing the creative will bestowed on him by the Creator, the yogi rearranges the light atoms of the universe to satisfy any sincere prayer of a devotee. For this purpose were man and creation made, that he should rise up as master of Maya, knowing his dominion over the cosmos. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." In 1915, shortly after I entered the Swami order, I witnessed a vision of violent contrasts. In it, the relativity of human consciousness was vividly established. I clearly perceived the unity of the eternal light behind the painful dualities of Maya. The vision descended on me as I sat one morning in my little attic room in Father's Gurpar Road home. For months, World War I had been raging in Europe. I reflected sadly on the vast toll of death. As I closed my eyes in meditation, my consciousness was suddenly transferred to the body of a captain in command of a battleship. The thunder of guns split the air as shots were exchanged between shore batteries and the ship's cannons. A huge shell hit the power magazine and tore my ship asunder. I jumped into the water together with a few sailors who had survived the explosion. Heart pounding, I reached the shore safely. But alas, a stray bullet ended its furious flight in my chest. I fell, groaning, to the ground. My whole body was paralyzed, yet I was aware of possessing it as one is conscious of a leg gone to sleep. At last the mysterious footstep of death has caught up with me, I thought. With a final sigh, I was about to sink into unconsciousness when, lo, I found myself seated in the lotus posture in my Gurpar Road room. Hysterical tears poured forth as I joyfully stroked and pinched my regained possession, a body free from any bullet hole in the breast. I rocked to and fro, inhaling and exhaling to assure myself that I was alive. Amidst these self-congratulations, again I found my consciousness transferred to the captain's dead body by the gory shore. Utter confusion of mind came upon me. Lord, I prayed, am I dead or alive? A dazzling play of light filled the whole horizon. A soft rumbling vibration formed itself into words. What has life or death to do with light? In the image of my light I have made you. The relativities of life and death belong to the cosmic dream. Behold your dreamless being. Awake, my child, awake. As steps in man's awakening, the Lord inspires scientists to discover at the right time and place the secrets of his creation. Many modern discoveries have helped men to apprehend the cosmos as a varied expression of one power light guided by divine intelligence. The wonders of the motion picture, of radio, of television, of radar, of the photoelectric cell, the all-seeing electric eye, of atomic energies are all based on the electromagnetic phenomenon of light. The motion picture art can portray any miracle. From the impressive visual standpoint, no marvel is barred to trick photography. A man's transparent astral body can be seen rising from his gross physical form. He can walk on water, resurrect the dead, reverse the natural sequence of developments, and play havoc with time and space, assembling the light images as he pleases. The photographer achieves optical wonders which a true master produces with actual light rays. The lifelike images of the motion picture illustrate many truths concerning creation. The cosmic director has written his own plays and assembled the tremendous cast for the pageant of the centuries. From the dark booth of eternity, he pours his creative beam through the films of successive ages, and the pictures are thrown on the screen of space. Just as the motion picture images appear to be real, but are only combinations of light and shade, so is the universal variety a delusive seeming. The planetary spheres, with their countless forms of life, are naught but figures in a cosmic motion picture, temporarily true to five-sense perceptions as the scenes are cast on the screens of man's consciousness by the infinite creative beam. A cinema audience can look up and see that all screen images are appearing through the instrumentality of one imageless beam of light. The colorful universal drama is similarly issuing from the single white light of a cosmic source. With inconceivable ingenuity, God is staging an entertainment for his human children, making them actors as well as audience in his planetary theater. One day I entered a motion picture house to view a newsreel of the European battlefields. World War I was still being waged in the West. The newsreel recorded the carnage with such realism that I left the theater with a troubled heart. Lord, I prayed, why dost thou permit such suffering? To my intense surprise, an instant answer came in the form of a vision of the actual European battlefields. The horror of the struggle, filled with the dead and dying, far surpassed in ferocity any representation of the newsreel. Look intently, a gentle voice spoke to my inner consciousness. You will see that these scenes now being enacted in France are nothing but a play of chiaroscuro. They are the cosmic motion picture, as real and as unreal as the theater newsreel you have just seen. A play within a play. My heart was still not comforted. The divine voice went on. Creation is light and shadow both, else no picture is possible. The good and evil of Maya must ever alternate in supremacy. If joy were ceaseless here in this world, would man ever seek another? Without suffering, he scarcely cares to recall that he has forsaken his eternal home. Pain is a prod to remembrance. The way of escape is through wisdom. The tragedy of death is unreal. Those who shudder at it are like an ignorant actor who dies of fright on the stage, when nothing more is fired at him than a blank cartridge. My sons are the children of light. They will not sleep forever in delusion. Although I had read scriptural accounts of Maya, they had not given me the deep insight that came with the personal visions and their accompanying words of consolation. One's values are profoundly changed when he is finally convinced that creation is only a vast motion picture, and that not in it, but beyond it, lies his own reality. As I finished writing this chapter, I sat on my bed in the lotus posture. My room was dimly lit by 2 shaded lamps. Lifting my gaze, I noticed that the ceiling was dotted with small mustard-colored lights, scintillating and quivering with a radium-like luster. Myriads of penciled rays, like sheets of rain, gathered into a transparent shaft and poured silently upon me. At once my physical body lost its grossness and became metamorphosed into astral texture. I felt the floating sensation as, barely touching the bed, the weightless body shifted slightly and alternately to left and right. I looked around the room. The furniture and walls were as usual, but the little mass of light had so multiplied that the ceiling was invisible. I was wonderstruck. This is the cosmic motion picture mechanism. A voice spoke as though from within the light. Shedding its beam on the white screen of your bedsheets, it is producing the picture of your body. Behold, your form is nothing but light. I gazed at my arms and moved them back and forth, yet could not feel their weight. An ecstatic joy overwhelmed me. This cosmic stem of light blossoming as my body seemed a divine replica of the light beams streaming out of the projection booth in a cinema house and manifesting as pictures on the screen. For a long time I experienced this motion picture of my body in the dimly lighted theater of my own bedroom. Despite the many visions I have had, none was ever more singular. As my illusion of a solid body was completely dissipated, and my realization deepened that the essence of all objects is light, I looked up to the throbbing stream of life-trons and spoke entreatingly, "Divine light, please withdraw this, my humble bodily picture, into thyself, even as Elijah was drawn up to heaven by a flame." This prayer was evidently startling. The beam disappeared. My body resumed its normal weight and sank on the bed. The swarm of dazzling ceiling lights flickered and vanished. My time to leave this earth had apparently not arrived. Besides, I thought philosophically, the prophet Elijah must well be displeased at my presumption. This has been Scientific Healing Affirmations, written by Paramahansa Yogananda, narrated by Loma Caillou, copyright 2021 by Medicine of One, production copyright 2021 by Medicine of One.
And so it is. I hope everybody took notes because it is so profound. You have to know, when we listen to Yogananda, he's not just a yogi. He's not just a guy who experienced some kind of states of enlightenment. He actually was an incredible avatar who never became what I would call human. And so creation is a vast motion picture. Behold your form as nothing but light. And when he referred to the quantum field, I think he made up that beautiful name for it, life trance. Isn't it amazing? the game of light and shadow. And what I found so fascinating, Divine Mother often speaks about us being in a dream within a dream. And so when he was experiencing the horrendous, scenes from World War I, then God said to him, look intently. This is a play, a cosmic motion picture, play within a play. The tragedy of death is unreal. I love the description, and you can go and re-listen to this. This is again from this beautiful book. You can find it on Audible, but also you can buy it as a book. It's nice to have it, where we are like actors pretending to be shot and pretending to die. And so we must seek together the unity of eternal light. And very often on these calls, we speak about duality the way that actually the Creator explained it to us. And that is to go beyond the pendulum, to go beyond the right and left, to see how it's always pulling on our sleeves. It is always pulling on the right sleeve to go that way and the left sleeve going the other way. But actually the only path is the path in the middle, which leads us to the unity of eternal light. And so it is. So again, we will continue our calls on Saturday, on April 13th, and go even deeper. I didn't have time to share the out-of-body experience, so I will share it on Saturday. Again, the times and the dates will be posted on the website, just so that you know. We try to do as many events as possible during this lunar cycle, and also preparing for the beautiful events that will unfold on this planet. So thank you so much, and many blessings.